Hey everyone, welcome to my presentation today. My name is Jan and I'm working as a technical director here at Demodern. And next to many other topics, I also get involved with innovation a lot, and that in all fields that we're busy in. So as you can see, we have a broad range of services that we offer, like web experiences, also mobile apps and installations. And what all of these things have in common when we tackle them is really that we constantly push boundaries and explore new technologies to deliver cutting-edge experiences and services, which is our mission. And when talking to someone about new technologies today, it's not possible to get around one big topic, which is the Metaverse. And this is also the topic of this presentation, ways into the Metaverse. So what different devices and what different use case are relevant when it comes to the Metaverse? How can you access it? So we all have this big vision for the Metaverse, that it's one big parallel world, but this is earliest achievable in some years. So the topics of VR, Web3 and 3D worlds really matter when it comes to Metaverse, but we are not really there yet. But where we are is that there is not one big Metaverse platform, but many different platforms for different purposes. So this is the status today. And you get lots of options to choose from if you want to go into the Metaverse. So there are big platforms out there like Fortnite, Horizon Worlds, Decentraland or Roblox, but they all have something in common. They are very limited when it comes to the possibility of interactions and also the visual style that you get out of it. So you're very limited to what these companies provide you with. So you can't really have a really customized experience or a very distinct visual style that you would like. So that's what these platforms have in common, which is a disadvantage because you can't really, if you have a company, decide how you want to present yourself in the Metaverse. But luckily, we have a solution to this, which is custom Metaverse platforms. So we started building these 2019, so at the beginning of the pandemic. And with that, we have now like 3 years of experience in the Metaverse already. And in this presentation, I want to jump into the topic on how these platforms can be accessed and what really our focus was and which hardware and use cases are relevant. To make this a bit more interesting, I got a little riddle here. So there are 4 different devices and use cases that I want to cover in the presentation. And let's see if we can unlock all of these. The first example I want to start with is Kollektiv Turmstraße, where we built a virtual festival space right at the beginning of the pandemic, when it was really the high season of it. So people were stuck at home and couldn't go out. And Kollektiv Turmstraße wanted to release their new album. And normally they have big release shows in clubs. But since this wasn't possible, they approached us and asked if we could create a virtual experience for them. So we built this virtual discotheque in the Metaverse. People could buy tickets to the album release in advance and then plan to be at home, log into their computer, choose an avatar and really dance in this dystopian scene that you can see right here in the video. You could also connect and chat with friends and share emojis and that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, there was a live stream showing of the DJ set, so it was really a live performance. The feedback for this was really good, and finally the DJs could basically go back to what they love doing. For this, we had a clear strategy in mind because we knew that people were stuck at home, weren't going out, and was not really like the spontaneous, okay, I will join this now, but you plan this by buying a ticket and then take your time, sit down at the desktop computer at home and have this nice experience. Mobile was, of course, also possible, but with a limited feature set. So you were only able to see the live stream and chat with friends, and we didn't have this 3D world. The advantage of this was really that we could have a higher quality in the 3D world. So the first device is pretty obvious, the desktop computer, and the use case for this is really if you are at home or if you're in the office, you take your time to do this experience and you plan it a bit ahead. The second example that I brought is the Miniverse, which was released this year for Gamescom. And this is the first drivable metaverse. So in this case, we didn't use humanoid avatars that can walk around, but we directly used the cars as avatars. which was a nice change. We also worked a lot with network physics on the computer. So the physics state of the world was shared between all users. You could bump into each other. You could shoot around with some balloons. So really, really a nice experience here as well. But here it was a bit different when it comes to the devices, because we knew that the marketing strategy of Mini was to use a lot of influencers, to use a lot of mobile ads on Instagram and other social media platforms. So we knew that a lot of people would jump spontaneously into this experience and do it on mobile. And the tracking data also showed that we were right. So we had a lot of different players, like over 280,000 did this experience, and roughly 70% of them joined with a mobile device. So here we had really this clear focus on mobile devices. Of course, the same feature set is also provided to desktop users, but it really wasn't our main focus. So the second device is a mobile device, which is more relevant for use case if you're on the go or if you have a more spontaneous experience in mind. So if you see it somewhere, you directly jump into there. That's also why for Mini, for example, we didn't have a login or registration process. You didn't need to create an account or set up your avatar. You could directly click the link and jump into the platform. The next example that I have is a hybrid Metaverse event that we built for the Tanzmesse in NRW in Germany. And maybe you can already tell from this cover image what the next device could be that we cover. So what we did here is that we built like this platform directly on the VE platform that you are in right now, and made a custom lobby that matches the CI. You could walk around with your avatar. You could watch videos and content and live streams, and also get into a chat with the artists in this call zones. And this whole Tanzmesse was a hybrid program. So things were only possible to do digitally. So like watching this content or joining these live discussions with the artists. But also there were some dances that were really happening on site. And we wanted to, when people are on site, we didn't want them to only be possible to watch the content that happens there, but we also wanted to provide them a way into the metaverse. And we didn't like the idea of putting laptops or phones in there or putting QR codes or something in there. So we wanted to make this whole on-site experience a bit more interesting. That's why we took a lot of Quest 2 devices and made it possible to join the metaverse in VR. So here you can see an example video of how this was looking. So it was basically the same lobby as on desktop and mobile that you were joining. You could jump around with your VR headset directly in the lobby, watch the video content, and have the same experience as desktop users, but directly on site. So the next device that's possible, as you can already tell, is virtual reality. But the use case for this is really special. So it's more relevant for really special events or if you're on site somewhere, because no one really has these devices at home, especially not like amateur users. Of course, it would also be possible to ship the devices to people at home to have the experience, but also you need some sort of technical knowledge to jump into VR, to know how to set up the headset or use the controllers. So virtual reality is really a nice and way more immersive access to the metaverse, but really just relevant if you go somewhere and have this experience on site. That's why our main focus is really more on desktop and mobile on most of our platforms, because we really accessibility is key. I think people should make your platform available to as many people as possible. The last topic that I want to cover is virtual production. So as you can tell from the other examples that I showed earlier, there are a lot of keynotes or live talks or presentations relevant for the metaverse. And of course, we want to make them as interesting as possible. So versus just recording a normal video of a person holding a presentation, we also did a lot of virtual production. Metahumans, which was published by Unreal actually already a year back, but there has been nice development on it. So right now it's also possible to bring a real person into the metahuman style. And the typical use case for this is, of course, a presentation for the metaverse, like I'm doing it right now. So what I have today is an example of how that looks, how you can bring a real person into a metahuman, which I want to show you now. So welcome to the Metahuman version of me. And for the final part of this talk, I want to introduce this technique a bit, as it's also very relevant for the whole topic of the Metaverse, and really a cool technology that's been coming up in the last years and has evolved a lot. So as you can see right now, the quality that you can achieve with this is pretty high. And we want to show you a bit how this could look in a production process. So as you can see, the avatar looks really close to the actual physical appearance that I have, as you saw earlier. And this is actually pretty easy to set up. So we will show you some behind the scenes footage, as you can see here. So I'm just standing here right in the center of our office. There's no big virtual studio needed or a green screen or anything like this. It's mainly just an iPhone and a microphone. And I need this Rococo suit that I'm wearing, which can be bought and is really precise in tracking the motion of my hands, as you can see. Also the mimics of my face with the iPhone, as you can see. So everything is pretty easy to produce. You don't need a big setup. The first step of creating this visual appearance is by scanning the face. And you do that basically by doing a video recording of all sides of the face. And using this information from the video itself, we can create a virtual 3D mesh that represents my face. With this mesh, we can basically transfer the proportions of the face, as well as a bit of the texture, directly onto the metahuman. So directly on the editor that these metahumans have, you can import the mesh and use that as a foundation for the character. So as you can see, this is really detailed. So we can zoom really in, look at the face of the avatar. Everything looks really realistic. So all the skin and the texture and like this. And then also like using the tracking technology of the face, you can see like I can do all kinds of mimics. And it really gets transformed well onto the avatar. So by that, you can really make a lifelike version of an existing person, and even like holding a presentation or a talk. So if the person is really good in holding presentations and talks, you can also transfer that to the person and it doesn't look weird. So it's really nice what you can do. So as you can see, all kinds of mimics of the face are directly transferred to the avatar. Once this metahuman is created, we can import them into Unreal and then set them in any location we like. This can either be a location that's as real as possible, so a virtual photo studio, but it can be also a big fantasy world or a castle or a medieval forest or whatever you like. The good thing about this is that you can do this either totally live or pre-recorded, if you want to have some more editing or more options, more possibilities, like we did it in this case. There are many use cases for this. For example, we could do a live presentation or a product presentation. Maybe there is a big speech planned from the CEO of a company or something like this. So this could be a good use case to put the character directly into the Metaverse platform. For the last part of this presentation, I want to jump out of the suit again and then really present to you the takeaways of everything I've mentioned so far. All right, welcome back to the real version of myself. I hope you liked a little excursus into the world of metahumans. What you can see right here is also the workflow that we use to bring myself into the metahuman world. So it's actually really simple. You create a video recording of the face of a person. You then use software to produce a 3D mesh of it. And then you can use the MetaHuman generator to bring this mesh directly into the person. Then you can choose the right fitting hairstyle, the clothes. You can still modify colors, the texture of the skin. So you get a lot of options for this. But of course, you don't need to look like your actual self. There's a lot of variety. So here you can see some examples of how these metahumans can look. So if you want to be someone completely else, that's also possible. And also like one of the nice advantages of the metaverse that you can look any way you want. And with that, we finally uncovered the last device and use case. So virtual avatars is really relevant for speakers if you want to bring a certain person into the metaverse and produce some marketing material with that. So really also a nice way of accessing the metaverse. All right, and when it comes to the key takeaways, we learned that the metaverse is already relevant today, both in the B2B and B2C sector. Depending on the use case and the audience, the focus should really be on another device and platform, which is really important. And accessibility is really the key. So it's only really relevant to invest in new and immersive technologies if lots of people can benefit from it. There's really no reason to buy expensive VR hardware and really develop nice experience for VR if no one has these glasses at home and can use it. So that's why for us, mobile and desktop is really our main focus. And only if it makes sense for certain special events, we go into the VR realm right now. And with that, I'm done with my presentation. Thanks for listening and have fun today.